And we'll start on Sunday Night Football, where the Los Angeles Rams looked unbelievable. This is a team right now that is on a tier of their own in the NFL. And I felt this way for a long time with the Los Angeles Rams. I felt that they were scratching the surface, but they needed to put the pieces together at a consistent basis. And that's exactly what we've seen this year. In years past, they've been talented. We've understood that they won that Super Bowl a few years ago, and they've been in this realm of a playoff contender / Super Bowl contender for the last few seasons. But they've had these lulls where they'll play really good football for a few weeks and they'll be inconsistent for a few weeks as well. And part of that is due to them being a young football team. We understand the transition period that they had on that defense over the last 2 years, and we'll get into that with how good this defense looks with really the turnaround they've had over the last 2 seasons. They've been unbelievable. But I want to start with Matthew Stafford, because this game against the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, it felt like his MVP moment. It felt like him really locking up this MVP award. Obviously, it's kind of a weird year in the NFL where you have these Goliaths in the AFC with Mahomes, with Josh Allen, with Lamar Jackson. Those guys haven't had the seasons that they've had over the last 5 years, where we see really those three as our top 3 MVP candidates in just a different order over the last 3 or 4 years. But it's been a weird year in the NFL, and that's the great part about the National Football League. You get this parity on such a consistent basis. And so I know I'm talking about the AFC here, but those have been the 3 main MVP candidates. All of a sudden, you look at this 37-year-old in the NFC at the helm of the Los Angeles Rams, playing the quarterback position better than anyone in the NFL right now. And that's exactly what we've seen from Matthew Stafford 12 weeks in to this year's season. And it feels like when I couldn't be more blown away, I just get more blown away. It's unbelievable watching Matthew Stafford, folks. And I did some digging, and I wanted to look at some of the older players who have played at a high level. Obviously, Brady played at such an unbelievable level for a long time, but he's Tom Brady, best football player that has ever played the game. You look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won an MVP at 38 years old. Peyton Manning won an MVP at 37. The GOAT Brady won one at 40. And when he retired at 45, he threw for 4,600 yards in his final season. So we've seen some quarterbacks in the past play really good football later on to their career. And with Matthew Stafford, he's aging like fine wine. I think he's got another 4 or 5 years left in him, to be quite honest with you. But we're focusing on right now, the 37-year-old quarterback is my MVP pick without a doubt. And he's been my MVP pick for about 2 months right now. On the season, 30 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Over the last 8 games, ladies and gentlemen, he has 25 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He's throwing no-lookers out there. He's getting the shimmy on. I mean, this dude can do no wrong right now. And when the Rams are playing like this, they're unbeatable. That's why I wanted to start this show off by saying the Los Angeles Rams are in a tier of their own, and Matthew Stafford, to me, has locked up the MVP award. Now, Sean McVay, obviously as the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, he's going to be a guy that's motivating them, that is not going to want them to get complacent. So he's saying, hey, who has been at the top of the NFL 12 weeks in? That's right, you don't know who it is. And so he's going to continue to motivate these guys. But for me, when I look at the Rams, I want to give them their flowers, first of all. We all understand what Matthew Stafford's doing right now, playing at an MVP level. Obviously, Puka Nacua is, in my opinion, a top 3 receiver in the NFL, just a guy that plays the football position at such a rugged rate, really a receiver that is not even a receiver, like a guy that wants contact, a guy that wants to run you over. He's almost like a running back when he gets the football. He's trying to run you over. And for Davante Adams, a guy that is now leading the NFL in receiving touchdowns, a player that was really written off. Everyone's like, hey, his career is going to die in Las Vegas. Is he really the same player coming to Los Angeles? And I know Los Angeles fans love Cooper Kupp, deservedly so. He had such a great career there, obviously won the Triple Crown Award. But having not hit the 1,000 receiving yard mark over the last 3 years with the Rams, it was time for them to make a move. It was time for them to upgrade. And you look at going from Cooper Kupp to Davante Adams, the type of impact that he's had on this passing game, the type of impact that he's had on this running game. I mean, Kyren Williams and the Seattle Seahawks, when they beat them a few weeks ago, Seattle's been one of the best teams defensively, and they've given up virtually no big runs. They've given up no rushing yards all season long, and Kyren Williams was able to run the ball at a really high level. The O-line did a great job. And part of that is because of the gravity that Puka Nacua and Davante Adams hold. So I look at the MVP quarterback. I look at the two dynamic receivers. I look at the Rams being able to run the football. But let's talk about this defense, because this defense has absolutely blown me away. That was the major question mark coming into this season. The defense was above average last year, but let's face it, there were a lot of question marks when you looked at the Los Angeles Rams defense, this transition that they've had. You go from having one of the best defensive players that has ever put on a helmet, that's ever put on shoulder pads in Aaron Donald. You go from him to a really young defense last year with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, two guys that were unbelievable draft picks, and that's just the greatness of Les Snead in a nutshell right now. You get Jared Verse, who wins the Defensive Rookie of the Year. You get Braden Fisk, who's the runner-up for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Both of those guys looking to take a massive year two leap, and to say that they have would be an understatement. You look at Byron Young, finding him later on in the draft. He has been unbelievable this season. At one point led the NFL in sacks. They've got a tremendous defensive line trying to replace what Aaron Donald left off. You've got so many great players who've stepped up at a high level. And I look at the Rams right now, and I look at the balance that this defense gives them, because everybody wants to talk about the offense, and it's deservedly so. But I look at this Rams defense that's giving up the fewest points per game in the NFL. I look at them giving up some yards, but when they get into the red zone, they are able to get stops. They're able to get timely stops when it matters the most. I look at Seattle staying in that game, the defense giving them opportunities, but the Rams getting 4 interceptions off of Sam Darnold. The Rams allowing Seattle to get into the red zone 4 times, but only giving them 1 touchdown. That's what great defenses do. They're able to get timely stops when it matters the most. They were able to obviously get that stop where Jason Myers would miss the 61-yard field goal. But I look at this Rams defense and I look at the transition. I don't think it's talked about enough in the NFL, to be quite honest with you guys, what the Los Angeles Rams have accomplished in a year and a half after losing arguably the greatest defensive player ever. I mean, it's unfathomable, to be quite honest with you. And Les Snead really deserves more credit for the entirety of this turnaround with all of these young guys. I mean, even going out and getting Emmanuel Forbes, who had a tremendous game against the Seahawks. I mean, so many different guys. Kobe Durant getting that pick 6 against the Buccaneers. I mean, they've got guys that are underrated, but have stepped up their level of play. And that's why this Rams defense is so great. It is a top 5 unit in the NFL right now. And the diversity that it gives the Rams, that's one of the reasons why they are, in my opinion, in a tier above everyone else in the league. They're right now the number 1 seed in the NFC. I like the way the rest of their schedule looks. They're obviously going to go to Seattle here in a few weeks. They've still got the Lions one more time. But outside of that, I think you're going to play Carolina next week on the road. You're going to get Arizona twice. You're going to get Atlanta on the road. I think realistically, this is a Rams team that, shoot, why can't they finish with 14 wins? If you finish with 14 wins, I think you were looking at a team that, without a doubt, gets the number 1 seed in the NFC. The road to Santa Clara goes through Los Angeles. And I don't look across the NFC right now and think there is a definitive team that can go out there and beat the Los Angeles Rams. I really don't. And I would say the only team that is going to give them the best run for their money is probably Seattle. I was originally thinking Philadelphia, but the offensive woes have concerned me. I think Seattle, with everything considered, they're going to give the Rams a tough matchup. I expect them to actually split the season series. With everything considered, the Rams are going to have to be a lot better. And I know this is ultimately not what you guys want to hear after I've been hyping you guys up for the last 10 minutes, but it's like, hey, Seattle got hit with this tsunami. Darnold, 4 interceptions. They get to the red zone 4 times, only score on 1 of them. They are really if without the best punt I've seen this season, they hit that field goal and win the game. Like, they got a lot of adversity thrown at them, and they still almost won that game. So the Rams are going to have to be a little more buttoned up. I think Seattle gives Los Angeles their toughest matchup of this Super Bowl run, in my opinion. But I said it from the very beginning. You can go back and look at the receipts. From day one, before the season started, I said the Los Angeles Rams would win the Super Bowl. I said this was a team that was going to get to that pinnacle, and I believe it. I'm very confident in it. So go back and check me on that. But Los Angeles, this is a great start 12 weeks into Sean McVay's point. Still a lot of meat left on the bone. We don't remember who the number one team in the NFL is 12 weeks in normally, but Los Angeles is playing at an unbelievable level right now. I think they're on a tier of their own in the National Football League with all the uncertainty and parity that we've seen.